Fist flying, no bounds. Podcast kings, we pound for pound. UFC thrills, stills nights get loud. Big EQP, that's how we get down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GRP. Back at it again on a Thursday, coming to talk about a whole bunch of shit. Whole bunch of good shit, whole bunch of dumb shit, whole bunch of stuff in general. Because we got UFC 312 coming up this weekend. The pay-per-view coming out of Sydney, Australia, happening Saturday night. So 2 title fights on the line. That's going on this weekend. This past week has been kind of crazy with combat sports news. Lots of people that don't know how to shut the fuck up. Lots of people that don't know how to say things that aren't completely idiotic and stupid. And a bunch of weird news that we didn't think we'd be getting. So there's a lot to talk about. But I feel strongly about some of these things, as if you couldn't tell. I got plenty of opinions and things to say about a lot of the stuff that's happened this week. It's just been crazy with, I don't know, people just being dumb and making MMA as a sport look bad. But we'll get into that. And then last week's fight night fucking sucks. Just sucked. It was just a disappointing night of fights because it didn't live up to, I guess, kind of the hype, but more so the outcome of the main event was sad for me. If you don't like Israel Adesanya, it doesn't make you sad, or if you don't know who he is. But for me, I was upset by the outcome. So, yeah, that we'll get into talking about that, obviously. So yeah, besides that, I mean, just, I don't know. I guess I don't even know how I want to start this, because personally, this week was just normal week, you know, normal stupid shit at work, normal. I never say anything positive about work because there's just always something dumb happening. Maybe I need to look at it differently. I'm glad I have a job, and I'm glad that I can keep my job, and I'm glad that I can live the way I live off of my job. But it's just, man, stupid people make things difficult. So, and you know, there's just unforeseen problems all the time that you can't control. So it just gets frustrating. It's frustrating more than anything. You know what I mean? That's what it is. And I know we all go through that. You know, and then work is just work. So when you come home, it's like, did I have a great day? I don't know. Did I have a good day? Questionable. Did I have a really bad day? More than likely, probably not. But did I have that mid-range, like, today was annoying and could have gone without this, that, or the other thing? Usually that's the way it goes. How do you have a good day when, you know, at work, it's not like a whole well, from my job, it's not like a whole social thing, you know? So, like, you don't have those coworkers you can mess around with and stuff, because we're, like, constantly busy and just doing things that are, like, difficult, and you got to use your brain and troubleshoot and stuff, and it's just constant and all day long. So it's like, where do you find the fun in between there? Because half the time you can't even stop and just make fun of something and have a good time. So we try to start our morning off with a little bit of chit chat that doesn't involve work all the time, at least for a few minutes. But, you know, the morning is the morning and everyone's like, ugh, don't want to be here. Fun. Work sounds fun, right? But it's hard to change your mind on some of these things. So then you hear about stuff in the sport you like and all the negative things, and it takes you to a spot where you're just like, what the hell's going on? Like, why are we doing this? Why is everything being so negative? And, you know, you can't get away from it no matter where you are. It's just how the world works these days, especially with the negativity and the I guess the drama and confrontations and all that stuff. That's what gets views. That's what gets likes. That's what people look for. That's what's entertaining for everybody. So then you get the people that go out there and try to say the crazy outlandish shit, that try to just basically get the headlines, you know, and at what cost though, right? Like that's what we're talking about here. What cost is it? Do you care what people think about you? I know a lot of people say you shouldn't care what people think about you, but when people are walking around comparing you to some of the worst people in the world, you got to kind of care about that a little bit, right? Maybe when you're a well-known person in the you know just sports world, media world, when you're an actor or a singer or something, maybe you don't care as much because there's so much negativity out there about you. You know, most people get it. Um, but sometimes, man, you just think about the things that some people say in front of a camera. Like, I know I say some stupid shit sometimes, but nothing to the effect of what some of these guys that have been, you know, saying out in over doing something like this, doing a podcast or doing an interview or on social media, you know, yeah, sure, be shocking or be, you know, surprise everybody with what you're gonna say, but don't go to some levels that are not necessary, that are gonna just label you, that gonna get you labeled as something in the view of the world that is just completely negative. I don't know why you would do anything like that. Um, but I guess things get taken out of context sometimes and things get misconstrued through texts, um, texts that are put out there, you know, like on Twitter or uh I guess in a video it's pretty straightforward, but that can get taken out of context sometimes too. So when it comes down to it, these guys that have been saying shit, um, just was just outright. There's no way to take it any other way but the way it was said. And you're probably like, what the fuck are you talking about? But if you don't follow MMA closely, you might not know about these things. If you don't pay attention to social media in certain ways, you might not know about these things. But if you're wrapped up, if you have any MMA going across your social media with UFC fighters and stuff, you've probably seen some of it with Conor McGregor, Bryce Mitchell. Those are the two main ones, but other people have said dumb shit too. Uh, so that's what I'm talking about first. And that's why I got into talking about that. Cause you know, you just rolling through, you know what I mean? It was felt like a good transition talking about negativity at work and then going into the negativity of, you know, some of these fighters that get on here and they say they're just speaking their mind or they're just being themselves. Well, if that's yourself, that's pretty bad. And if you're speaking your mind, like, is that what goes through your mind all the time? And I know, you know, there's no context to this yet, but I'm just speaking in generalities here because when you start talking about outlandish shit just to get views or just to get clicks or just to get somebody's attention so that you can get the attention on you and it's all completely bad and negative and some of the worst shit you could say, like why do you think that's the way to go? That's what doesn't make sense to me. You know, we've been talking about how to grow podcasts and stuff on the other podcasts I do, and it's hard to fake something that you just don't like. So just out of jokingly, we, you know, brought up like stuff that could be taken from the negatives aspects for somebody to kind of steel man an argument about maybe the opposite side what you would expect, and I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't even fake that one. I, I'm not taking that one just to say it because I just can't do it. Like there's some things that can be faked and some things that can be, you know, joked about in a manner, but some of these things I can't do it. So uh hey mom's in the chat. Better weekend, enjoying what you like doing best. Oh, thanks, mom. Appreciate that. See, kind words from my mom. You would expect it from a mom, of course. So, but I appreciate her saying it out, you know, putting it in the chat and make me feel better. So thank you, mom. Hasn't been that bad this week. It's just, you know, some of this stuff gets me. Some of this stuff makes me just go crazy because it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? And you know, I'm not the most positive person in the world. I don't even know why. I guess it's just my demeanor sometimes that I see I'm always trying to be ready for the bad shit that could happen, and it kind of overcomes me sometimes, and I think everything's bad. But it's just views, you know, it's just how you view the world and what you think and what you see. You can't go around thinking everybody's bad, and you can't go around thinking everybody's good though either. So there's a healthy balance somewhere in the middle, and that's just something that I think about when you start wondering if some of these guys are saying shit just to say it and get attention, or if they're saying it because they truly mean it. So I don't know. I went on a rant there. I mean, I'm gonna keep going on it because I'm gonna let you know what I'm actually talking about here in just a second. But before I go too far, let me get myself nice and awake and alert, because I'm gonna shout out my sponsor here before I get too deep into all this stuff, and that's Noctane Smelling Salts. Hit that QR code, go to their website, check it out for yourself. I can tell you real quick that these are something good to use when you need to get alert and wake up a little bit, and you know, pay attention a little more. Sometimes everybody needs that. So this is a good way to do it. Some smelling salts. I know you might have seen videos somewhere where people and you know, doing it, and you're like, I don't know that I ever want to do that. Give it a shot. I promise you. It looks harsh. It feels a little harsh, but it's worth it. Afterwards, you feel good. You feel alert and awake, and yeah, it helps with a lot of different things. So I use it in a lot of different ways, but most of the time just to make myself wake up a little bit. So let's go ahead and do this real fast. There it is. Woo. That's strong. It's the most potent bottle with the red cap. Start slow. Go with the white cap. Or if you feel a little more brave, go with the black cap. That's the mid-range one. Either way, check it out. Go to the website, hit that QR code, and check out what they got to offer. It's a good product, and I appreciate the sponsorship. So check out Noctane Smelling Salts. There we go. All right. So now that I've gotten into all that, let's keep going with some context to what I'm talking about and start with some combat sports news. If you saw the thumbnail, you'll recognize this guy in this picture, and his name is Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell said some shit on his very first podcast of his very own podcast. So he decided to start up a podcast with, I guess, an old training partner of his or something, a friend. I'm not exactly sure. I know the guy supposedly fought, I don't know if in the UFC or something like that, but who cares? The other guy seemed to have a little more of a, I don't know. I didn't really listen to I didn't get to hear everything the other guy said. I didn't want to go and listen to this whole thing because I'm just like, oof. Because this is hard to take out of context when somebody just says something like what Bryce Mitchell said. And, you know, he is a conspiracy theorist. He believes that the earth is flat. No offense if you feel that way as well, but I think there's pretty good evidence that it's not. And there's a lot of people out there that think it is. And that's sure. But that's only one of the things he thinks about and talks about. There's a lot of other stuff out there, and it just seems like maybe he gets his views off the internet. He believes everything he reads and everything he sees, at least how he sees it fit for himself, and that says a lot about his character, I think, because some of the stuff he's talking about here, it's gonna be hard for me to kind of read it a little bit, but I'm gonna read it. So as you see here, the words are on the screen, directly quoted from what he said. These aren't my views. This is what Bryce Mitchell said, and all I'm doing is covering what he said. So wish he would fall off the flat earth, Infinity said. Yeah, let's go to the edge, man. Let's see how brave you really are. Unfortunately, he wouldn't fall off. So I'm gonna read some of this. Maybe I don't. Maybe I won't read. I don't know. I'm just gonna read it. You can read it for yourself. It's on the screen. I'm only gonna talk about what's right there. Okay. So he says, I honestly think Hitler was a good guy based on my own research, not my public education, indoctrination. I really do think before Hitler got on meth, he was a guy I'd go fishing with. That's wild. Why? Why would you think that that is a good thing to say? There's so many things wrong with that. Now, if you ever watch Joe Rogan, he's talked about the fact that, you know, Hitler and all of the soldiers out there were on meth back in the day. You could see a video of Hitler where he's just tweaking out of his mind. And it's evident, it's obvious. So that's what he's talking about before he got on meth. It's kind of crazy. You know, this is back in the day, they used a lot of different substances to try to make the soldiers stay awake, stay alert. They should have used some smelling salts. That would have been a lot safer. But instead they did stuff like meth. It's kind of crazy. Look into it. But that's what he said. He said he fought for his country. He wanted to purify it by kicking the greedy Jews out, which, come on, man. This is just hard to read because it's like, well, why would you say shit like this? Why do you think this is the way to go? He said, kicking the greedy Jews out that were destroying his country and turning them all into gays. They were gaying out the kids. Like, dude, what are we doing? He said, you know, the books that everybody makes fun of, Hitler burning, you know what the books, you know what, see, and I caught, this is exactly what he said. You know what the books was? Queer books. Hitler burned queer books because Hitler didn't want a bunch of queers destroying his nation. Come on, man. Like, I want to ask him questions directly just to see. And he prides himself on his rants that he goes on. He feels like he's super educated and that he knows a lot about things that other people don't know. But he thinks that these things that he knows that other people don't know make it okay for him to believe in it, because he seems to think what everyone else knows and says and proves to be a fact is just complete bullshit. And that just makes him look like an idiot. You know, I don't believe anything he's saying here, for one. I don't agree with anything he's saying here. And I think he's just a complete fucking moron. And I used to like Bryce Mitchell because when he first jumped on the scene, he wasn't outlandish like this and crazy and saying crazy shit. He seemed a little off a little bit, but he was kind of a funny, happy-go-lucky dude that, like, he raps like decently well too. I mean, it's not even the worst rap you've heard from a guy who's white, by the way, which you know the stereotype. A white rapper that, you know, isn't Eminem is hard to come by, being a good rapper, but he's actually not bad, and it's weird. Go listen to something that he's done in the past, like his Bryce Mitchell rapping, and you'll find out it's crazy. But so, like, you know, when I first heard of him, first started seeing him in interviews and stuff, I'm like, okay. And then something weird happened. He you know, he's a hardworking guy before he got too deep into the UFC, and I guess he was doing his job, and he had a drill that he decided to holster in his pants like a gun. Okay, which is already strange, and I guess it had a pretty long, like, drill bit on it. Well, he accidentally started the drill up while it was in his pants, and he got his ball bag stuck on the drill and wrapped up, and it ripped it. So I mean, I'm only laughing because it's just like, holy shit, dude. I couldn't even imagine. That shit is crazy. I felt bad for him. I was just like, wow, dude, like, how do you, like, get past that? That is crazy. And he talked about it in detail, how he had to back the drill off, you know, because it was, like, legit wrapped up. Oh man, I was just like, oof. So little did we know this was a little bit of what's to come later, which is just a little bit of him being an idiot. Like, why? First of all, if you've ever worked with the drill, you would know that that's not something you don't put it in your pants, for one, and for two, you got to be careful, man. Like, you have to. So I work with drills all the time. You can't. I've gotten my shirt caught up in it, and that's because you're trying to do something, your shirt kind of flies in, or you know, you put it under your arm thinking that it's all good, and then you hit the button on accident. Like, but why would you ever put it in your pants like that? I don't know. Crazy. So this is just that was just a preview of what kind of dumb shit that we would see him do in the future, and now's the future of what I'm talking about. And yeah, he got recognized by Dana, of course, because Dana White hears everything and the media will bring it up to him. And Dana White's face here says it all. It's not from the exact moment he said this, but it was a good picture to put up with his statement. And this is what he said. After Power Slap last week, of course, they never talk about Power Slap in the press conference. It's always talking about whatever else is happening in MMA at the moment and any of the UFC fighters. So he says, I've heard a lot of dumb and ignorant shit in my day, but this is probably the worst. When you talk about Hitler, he was responsible for the death of 6 million Jews, and he tried to completely eliminate a race of people. Hitler is one of the most disgusting and evil human beings to ever walk the face of the earth, and anyone that even tries to make an opposing position is a moron. That's the problem with the internet and social media. You provide a platform for a lot of dumb and ignorant people. That's the beautiful thing about this business. For all of you that hate Bryce Mitchell, you get to see him hopefully get his ass whooped on global television. So everything's good there that he said, because that's the obvious thing, right? Like that's how most of us feel about that situation, about that person, and about what he did. It's history, you know, and a lot of history we've come to find out has maybe not been exactly what it's been, how it's been explained to us. It didn't exactly happen that way, but back in the day, things were put out there differently. So, but this is something that's pretty well proven, and we know what happened with everything with Hitler and Germany and the Nazi stuff and all that. So, yeah. So all that I agree with as far as what Dana said. The only problem here that a lot of people have pointed out is that, you know, what he says at the end. Initially, I was like, yeah, that's a good fucking point. But see, Dana White's all about freedom of speech, right? A lot of his fighters say a lot of outlandish shit, including people like Sean Strickland, Colby Covington, Conor McGregor, and there's been a lot of other guys. Those are the ones that we can think about right now, right off the bat, and go, yeah, they've said some dumb shit, because we've all seen and heard it. But, you know, and he says freedom of speech means they can say what they want, and they're not going to get reprimanded in any way. There's no punishment for it, but he will speak his mind and how he feels about what they said. Now, we've heard him go off on Merab Dvalishvili for posting about a cut that he had on his eyebrow before a fight. He went off and went crazy about that, and it's like, dude, go crazy about this. I mean, he did show anger, he did show frustration, and he did voice his opinion, but it seems a little tame compared to what, you know, something that came to making him money and the fights. And so for him to say at the end, it's the beautiful thing about this business. For all of you that hate Bryce Mitchell, you get to see him hopefully get his ass whooped on global television. What that entails, though, is the fact that you're going to buy the pay-per-views and watch him get his ass whooped. So he said, you know, it's good for him in a way that you're going to get all these people that are going to come and buy the pay-per-views when this guy's fighting, so we can watch the guy who said all this crazy shit possibly get his ass whooped. So there's a monetary, you know, thing behind what he's saying. Makes him a smart businessman, I guess. But it doesn't really sit right. Because instead of, yeah, he's bashing him, calling him a moron, saying he's an idiot, and calling him fucking stupid. But at the same time, he's also like, well, I'm going to make some money off this, because a lot of people are going to come and watch his next fight so they can watch him get his ass whooped, or boo him, or talk shit to him. They're going to show up to the venue, buy a ticket, and they're going to be there just to talk shit to Bryce Mitchell, or to boo him and watch him get his ass whooped in person. And, you know, no matter what, whether he said it or not that way, that kind of shit can happen. But it's weird that it's a coincidence that all that kind of lines up that way, right? So who knows if it's because of how Dana responded, or if because somebody in the company decided to speak to Bryce Mitchell and tell him, hey, listen, you're wrong, you're stupid, and you need to fucking fix this. Or maybe nobody said shit to him and he just saw the response from Dana White and realized I fucked up. Or maybe he caught a conscience for all the backlash that he's getting and all of the bashing of his character that everyone's doing because of what he said. But Bryce Mitchell apologized. Maybe it's just a half-ass apology, because if you look at this picture, this is exactly what he posted. If you look at this picture, he's wrapped up in an American flag, right? Which is just a normal picture from one of his UFC fights, because, you know, a lot of the guys have flags. They carry the flag of the country that they represent, and that's fine. But it's, you know, it's a little bit kind of just perfect for him to post this picture with the flag and use it as a symbol of him and how patriotic he is, or how, you know, whatever. Because if you know all the other things he talks about, it makes sense. So he says, I'm sorry I sounded insensitive. I definitely was not trying to offend anybody, but I know I did. I know that a lot of people died in the Holocaust, and that's a fact. Hitler did a lot of evil things. I think we can all agree on that. I'm definitely not a Nazi, and definitely do not condone any of the evil things Hitler did. But he said he would go fishing with him if before he did those evil things. So it's kind of weird. So this, a lot of, you know, I saw a lot of responses to this saying it sounded insincere, that it was just his obligation to apologize, and he was doing it as an obligation instead of meaning it. So I don't know, because Bryce Mitchell is who he is, and I guarantee you the next time that he's somewhere, he's gonna say something else that's crazy, because every time he gets on in front of a mic or in front of a camera, he does. He even asked Ariel Helwani if the show he was going on with him was gonna be live, and as soon as he said yes, which he should know because he's seen it and been on the show before, that it's always live, he turned around and decided to go off on some crazy shit, and say some stuff that was super inappropriate to be talking about at the moment, much less to say at all. Very insensitive, very dumb, and he did that just in spite of the fact that, you know, he was being interviewed about fighting and all this other stuff. So he is who he is, and unless he decides to change, that's what we're gonna get from him. So we'll see what kind of stance he takes on this, past everything else and in the future, and how it affects, you know, how it affects him and how he reacts and how he discusses things in the public eye from this point on. Because if this was a sincere apology, then he's acknowledging the fact that he fucked up in a roundabout way. But if he's doing this just to get the heat off him a little bit, then you know damn well he's gonna say something else stupid sometime very soon, and it's gonna be the next thing that people rip him apart for. And, you know, no one has heard anything about any kind of repercussions from this, as far as from the UFC, who's the organization he fights for. You know, people talk about, well, he's a UFC employee, why doesn't he get, you know, punished for this? And he's not. He's a subcontractor, basically. You know, he's not an actual employee. He fights for the UFC. Yes, they do give him his checks, but, you know, it's in a different way than a normal employee would. You know, if somebody that worked on the production team for the UFC said any of this, they'd probably be gone in a second, more than likely. But these guys are the ones that make the money for the company, so I guess Dana's just letting it go. But however you feel about it, it sucks that you have to listen to this kind of shit, and it's dumb. All of it's dumb. I don't even know what to say. I was actually pretty pissed for multiple reasons with this, and all I can say is, man, you know, I know he's a professional fighter, but I still want to slap the shit out of him. But I'm not one of those guys that's gonna go out there and be like, I'd beat the shit out of Bryce. No, he's a professional fighter. He's well trained, and he's a good fighter. Well, we seen him get fucking sparked by Josh Emmett, and a lot of people are using that as retaliation and to make fun of him. And you know, that's kind of harsh because that was a pretty scary situation. He didn't wake up for a minute. He was convulsing on the ground after getting knocked out like that. But to a lot of people, it's pretty satisfying to see that happen to him, even if it was, you know, past event, because of the types of things that he says. And I can't really blame him. So, but here's the thing, he doesn't get a punishment, because if they punish him, they got to punish other people that say dumb shit. Like one of their only major stars right now who hasn't fought in the UFC in so long, you can't even remember when it was. And that would be Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor joined the stupid team this week by tweeting out something very stupid against one of my all-time favorite fighters. I don't give a fuck what the guy, you know, what religion he practices or where he comes from, because I like him as a fighter, and he never has done anything like this to anybody. And Conor's said a lot of foul shit about him, and he's talking about Khabib Nurmagomedov, who doesn't even fight anymore, by the way. And Conor's just going after him because Khabib, what was it? There was the beef between Conor McGregor and Paul Hughes, and McGregor went off on some shit talking about Paul Hughes and how he's not a real Irishman and all this other stuff. And Khabib said something that a lot of people say, which is, you know, he told Paul Hughes he respects him and he is a real Irishman, and not like the drug addict rapist that Conor McGregor is. So I could understand coming back and saying something back, but damn, he went crazy on this one. And of course he deleted the tweet, because that's what he does. I can't read really all of this in the way it's said because it's fucked up. But I'll leave out the words I shouldn't say, because I shouldn't say them. And I don't want to. So here we go. 15 minutes. I done Aldo 15 minutes. I done Aldo 15 seconds. Of course, you get the McGregor drunken coke-filled rant. Show your wife, show your kids. You can read on the screen what I'm leaving out, because fucking motherfucking hiding motherfucker. Show us you and your, wait, no, he said cousin fucking motherfucker, hiding motherfucker. Show us you and your cousin's kid together, because we have kids here in Ireland that want to smoke them in competition. Are they competing, or what are you saying? Ireland versus Dagestan? Where's your offspring? We can't wait to see them. The best of Dagestan offspring? Dagestan, what do we think? Is this true? Who's next? Cause Fatso with the coach whistle won't fight. He's talking about Khabib. Who the fuck designated this fat bitch as master father? Certainly not his own father, Abdul Manap, who, by the way, has passed away. So now he's talking about Khabib's, you know, deceased father, which is fucked up. And they all know it in Dagestan. Dagestan think you are pussy lips for retiring. Real Dagestan is forever. You are laughed at behind your back in Dagestan. Lazy you are, they say. Fight me and make $100 million and give it to the entire village of Dagestan. But you won't. Why? Fat, lazy, scared bitch. Lazy fatso. So you got a mixture here of just manic, crazy, drug-filled, drunken, idiot, stupid, just rant, and also a little bit of Yoda talk, and just complete disregard for normal English. So, what are we doing, Conor? Conor says all kinds of crazy shit, but this one went a little far. He's saying things he shouldn't be saying, and I don't just mean the mean shit that he's saying to Khabib. I'm saying words that he should not be saying. And who did anybody fucking say anything to him about this? Nobody knows. But why is he saying this? Why did he think it was okay to say that in a tweet that goes out to everyone? Everyone's gonna see it, screenshot it the second it hits. I probably saw it a couple minutes after he posted it, I think. It's crazy, man. Like, what are we fucking doing? Put some tape over your mouth and go train. Because you shouldn't be talking anymore. because you talking is not good. You and Bryce Mitchell need to just shut the fuck up. I that's really all I can say about it. Like, I've seen so many videos of people being like, what the fuck is Conor doing? And why does he think it's okay to say this? So you get, you're getting an attack on a religion, an attack on a country, an attack on family members, an attack on race. Like, you're getting, I don't know, maybe I just sound like too sensitive or something, but read this. Like, read this. And you know, I mean, I laughed at some of it because it's just, some of it's just shit talk, and that's fine. You know, you want to call him a lazy, fat, scared bitch. That's kind of funny. That's just shit talking when you're a fighter. You know what I mean? That's just shit talking in general. If you want to talk shit and piss somebody off, that's an easy way to do it. But that is funny. The rest of this, not very funny. It's just fucking stupid. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And we just don't. This is why he can't get back to fighting. This is why we're not seeing him being scheduled for a fight. In that press conference, they asked Dana, when's Conor coming back? And Dana did this. We don't know when Conor's coming back. What does that tell you? That tells you they have no fucking clue, because he can't get his shit together long enough for them to be able to say, okay, he's good to go. I mean, they're probably worried about his health at this point, because he's constantly drunk and fucked up. Every time you see him, he's grinding his teeth, and his jaw's been, you know, his jaw's going crazy because he's doing so much coke. And we know this. It's pretty well known. And the if you've ever seen somebody who does a lot of cocaine, you know exactly what's happening. And yeah, Conor is just, Conor will never be the same. We're never gonna, the Conor of old that was exciting, fun to watch. He was still out there just talking crazy shit, but at least he was backing it up in the cage, and he was doing kind of great things. Look at what he did for the sport of MMA, bringing it mainstream and making it as popular as it is now. So, but we're never going to see that Conor again. He's only as popular as he is now for the things that he did in the past. The things that he's doing now, crazy, stupid, and completely unhinged. So, and he needs to get some help and he needs to get his ass back to fighting in one fashion or another. But I don't know if we're ever going to see that, because this is the type of shit that he continuously does. You know, he's had cases against him. He's lost lawsuits for things that he's done. And you can't even say allegedly anymore. It was proven in court. Now there's holes in the stories, and maybe there's things we didn't hear, but I'm about to lose my nicotine pouch. But you know, in the end, he was found guilty of that and had to pay money. So I don't know, man. The Conor of old, we're never gonna see him again. If we see any version of him, let's hope that it's at least a version that is him in his right mind. He gets back to fighting in one way or another, and for the sake of his family, just continues to make the money and maybe just live a little better. Because what's his kids gonna think when they come back and see all this crazy shit that he's doing and putting out there? And you know, come on. I mean, he seems like he wants to be a good dad, but all this stuff, as soon as his kids get, you know, old enough to realize what's happening here, it doesn't make you a good dad to see you doing all this crazy shit and saying all these things. But that's just my opinion. So, and that's why we're not going to see him fight KSI, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, none of these guys, because every rumor has gone away, because it just, he can't put it together and get it done for one reason or another. So speaking of KSI, it was announced that he is fighting Dillon Danis on March 29th. And Dillon Danis was signed to the Global Fight League. So this is kind of crazy, but apparently that's part of the Global Fight League thing, is that they're going to allow guys to do other stuff like boxing matches and you know, probably not going to other MMA organizations and fighting there, but they are allowing them to do other things outside of MMA. So KSI and Dillon Danis are now scheduled to fight on March 29th. So we'll see if that follows through, because this had been talked about before, but it didn't happen. There's been altercations between them before, and obviously Dillon Danis fought KSI's business partner Logan Paul, because they own Prime Hydration and Prime Energy together. So Dillon Danis is set to fight KSI March 29th. We'll see how that pans out. We'll see if it actually happens, and we'll see if they follow through with the fight. And KSI looks decent when fighting guys that just don't look like they know what they're doing in boxing, but can he fight a guy who's actually fought in a cage and actually fought in a ring before? But with Dillon Danis, he's not getting to do the thing that he's the best at, which is grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So can he do anything against KSI? Because he looked horrible against Logan Paul with that boxing match. Like, he looked like he doesn't know. He's not known for striking, and he doesn't look like he knows how to box for real. So is he going to be able to get in there? And he's talking all this shit about how he's going to be the one to go in and beat up all these YouTubers. And it's like, you just fought a YouTuber and you didn't do shit to him. So you talked all that shit and didn't back it up. And Logan Paul got to, push you around and punch you a few times and feel good about it. So I don't know. We'll see if this happens or not. But speaking about the Paul brothers, we got to get into that again, because every week there's something new. And of course, we got duped by Logan and Jake acting like they were going to fight each other. We talked about that last week, but it wasn't even a fight. They set it up to be what looked like it was going to be an announcement of a fight, and instead it wound up being the announcement for their reality show, their Kardashian style reality show. So that's what they do. They're good at promotion. I mean, you got to give them that. But yeah, well, now there is a rumor about Canelo Alvarez fighting Jake Paul. And since I saw this the first time, it has progressively gotten more and more real. We're hearing boxing pundits speak on the fact that they've heard that it's a done deal, that it's been agreed to. So here it says Canelo Alvarez plans May has agreed to fight versus Jake Paul, followed by an agreement with a 3-fight deal with Turki El-Sheikh, who's the guy that's running Riyadh season. The first fight of the deal will take place in September, and that fight was supposed to have been Terrence Crawford. That's a legit fucking fight. Canelo versus Crawford, that'd be a badass fight, and that was a go. Everyone was excited about it. Everyone was like, okay, everyone's like, okay, how's this happening though, if now you're talking about fighting Jake Paul in May and then Terrence Crawford in September? Now everyone's like, okay, there's no way Jake Paul's gonna do anything to Canelo, but still, Jake Paul's a bigger guy, and you never know. But you're gonna fight in May and then you're gonna fight in September. Like, that's a little crazy, especially with a legit fight against Terrence Crawford. Well, now the news has been since this is that fight with Terrence Crawford is now off. It's been canceled. They're no longer in talks to sign those contracts. So a lot of stuff happening there with boxing, but it seems more and more legit that Jake Paul's gonna fight Canelo Alvarez, and I didn't think it was gonna happen. I didn't think it was legit. I thought it was just another fucking thing that Jake Paul's saying to try to get the clout, but apparently it's gonna happen. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. And Jake's talked about fighting Canelo quite a bit and for a long time. So if it comes true, that's crazy. And I'm gonna love to see what Canelo does to him, because I don't think that Jake has a chance. Everyone has a puncher's chance in a fight, but that's about all he's got. So we'll continue with a little bit of boxing here. Infinity actually talked to me, said something to me about the Clarissa Shields stuff. I think he was talking about the weigh-ins and possibly thinking she was looking good. I didn't even think about the fight at all, and I looked into it just because he did bring it up, and I hadn't really paid attention. I didn't even realize that they fought. That's just kind of how boxing is sometimes, especially with the women. But she is considered the GWOAT. She calls herself the GWOAT, the greatest woman of all time, basically, in boxing. And yeah, she became the first ever women's undisputed heavyweight champion after fighting Perkins. I forgot her first name. I don't know why I keep forgetting her first name. And of course, I'm not seeing it here right away. I have this pulled up, but everything just says Perkins. I don't remember her first name, but she looked pretty big. And I watched the highlights and I was just like, damn, Claressa Shields is legit when it comes to boxing. And I mean, we've all known this for a while. If you've ever, paid attention to Claressa Shields and her, Danielle Perkins is her name. I kept seeing another name earlier and I was thinking that was it, but I was wrong. But yeah, Danielle Perkins. So, I mean, this fight went all 10 rounds. She did, Claressa did, almost had the walk-off KO at the buzzer of the 10th round and knocked down Perkins. And it was kind of funny because she knocked her down and Perkins kind of fell on her ass, fell back, and then got up and kind of shook her head and looked at her like, damn, you just did that. Like, she couldn't believe that that's what Claressa Shields did to her. It was crazy. And that was pretty entertaining. So watching Claressa Shields do that, I mean, she's fought in MMA as well, hasn't done so well there because, she's a boxer and she's got a lot to learn when it comes to the ground game and grappling and wrestling and stuff. But, she's still trying to, I think she's still involved in MMA. I'm not even sure. I haven't heard much from it. But in one of the judges' scorecards, she was even up 100-89, which means she won every damn round. Infinity says Claressa spars 250-pound men. Yeah, I've heard that. She's legit in boxing, that's for damn sure. And she proved that with this fight, becoming the first ever women's undisputed heavyweight champion. So good on her. She continues to live up to that name she gave herself, and I think we all know the truth when it comes to boxing with her. Little more boxing here. We had the oh my god, I just completely Benavidez fight that happened this past weekend. And I don't usually watch all the boxing events and stuff, but I happened to be somewhere that had this fight on. And I didn't watch the whole Benavidez fight, but I did watch a lot of highlights. I caught a little bit here and there, but I did watch this whole fight right here. Isaac Cruz versus Angel Fierro. And I was completely entertained. These guys were fucking throwing nonstop from bell to bell. There was not a lot of tie-ups. There was not a lot of hugging, which is a lot of the shit you see in boxing, which is why it gets boring. And I'm sitting, me and my wife, when we just go out to dinner on our own, if there's a spot open at the bar, we'll go sit at the bar. And I don't know why. My wife likes it. I used to not like it as much because I don't give a shit about sitting at the bar. As long as I get a drink, that's all I give a shit about. But we sat at the bar, and we do that a lot at places we go. Sometimes you gotta wait, and the bar area is like a first come first serve. If you see seats, you can go sit at them. So sometimes we'll just do that. Well, we went to we were planning to go to some other places downtown. All of them were packed. We didn't make any reservations or nothing. We just on a whim decided to go downtown, and everywhere was like an hour plus wait. So I made a reservation online, and I went to this other place that had an opening, and we got there early. So there happened to be a bunch of seats at the bar, and we're like, you know what? We don't care about the reservation. Let us sit at the bar. And they're like, cool, yeah, it's open seating. Cool. So we went and sat there. I look up, and there's just a wall of screens, and this boxing match was on. I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So I caught them right in their walkout, and I watched this whole fight, and it was fucking entertaining. Everybody in the building that was watching it was yelling and screaming and cheering and shit. It was fun. It was a fun fight. These guys put up some fucking numbers too. 624 punches thrown for Isaac Cruz, 786 for Fierro, 248 landed. 248 landed for Cruz and 238 landed for Fierro. So, I mean, that's a lot of fucking punches, man. And then there's some more numbers down there, but just percentages and just the CompuBox numbers, if you ever pay attention to those. But these guys were fucking going at it. It was a fun fight to watch. Here's some of the brutal shots that Cruz was throwing. This dude looked little, and to be honest with you, in the beginning when I was watching a little bit of it, kind of eating my food, talking to my wife, watching a little bit, and I'm like, seemed like he was kind of losing at first, and then I started really watching, and I'm like, no, this dude is fucking killing it. But both these guys were throwing punches that were just, they were fast, and there was a lot of them. So that's why I wanted to talk about this one specifically, because I did watch this fight. But then you had the Benavidez versus who's the fuck? See, this is how much I don't watch boxing that much, but Benavidez gets the win. That's really all that's needed to be said there. But that was a pretty decent fight too, from what I understand. I didn't get to watch that one. I left before that one hit. So just wanted to mention it there because it was a part of that event. That was the main event. And yeah, that was it for that. So let's move on to UFC Saudi Arabia that happened last week. We had Israel Adesanya versus Nasruddin Imavov, and that was your main event. And then you had Shara Bullet Magomedov versus Michael Venom Page, MVP, for the co-main event. So these are two good fights at the top of this card. And then you had some other fights that were pretty good, that were supposed to have been pretty good, rounding out the rest of that main event, as well as some good fights down in the prelims. And for the most part, this card was your normal kind of fight night card. There were some good ones, there were some bad ones, there were some disappointments, and there was just some fun stuff that happened all throughout. That's your normal fight night card. That's not a pay-per-view. But with a headlining name like Israel Adesanya, you're thinking it's going to be great, especially seeing that co-main as well. And this was a Riyadh season card happening in Saudi Arabia. So, you know, Riyadh season has been involved in everything: boxing, MMA, all the biggest events, and they've been doing all kinds of crazy shit, throwing money around. The Saudis are just having fun with the combat sports, and they're making big events happen. So of course, you know, with the Noche UFC that was sponsored by Riyadh and stuff like that, now they're wrapped up in MMA, doing Saudi Arabia events and stuff like that. Turkey Al Sheikh is a big hitter in all this, of course. And yeah, you know, they're just putting on the events and they're getting good cards over there. Now, when you see a good card, you're wondering, is it going to pull through? Are we going to see good stuff coming out of it? That's always a toss-up. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what kind of stuff's happening in the locker rooms, which is a part of the story here. You never know what's happening with the fighters leading up to the fight, and you don't know what they're going to do in that cage. No matter how much you've watched them fight, no matter how much you've seen them do damage, you just don't know what state they're in. So that's why it's so hard to bet on MMA. That's why it's so hard to pick fights. And that's why I'm so wrong all the time. But I also pick with my heart sometimes. I like a fighter. I want him to win so badly that I just pick him and say, fuck it. And then you get the disappointment. And this one was very disappointing because I love Izzy. I've been a fan of his for a long time. And it just sucks to see him kind of go down the losing path. But we'll get to that one. So let's take a look at the early prelims here. We had Hamdi Abdelwahib versus Jamal Pogues. That was a split decision win to start off the night in the heavyweight division. And Hamdi Abdelwahib gets the win, continues on his undefeated record. Now he's 4-0. Jamal Pogues loses and got released by the UFC. So he's gone now. That was his last fight in the UFC. We had a performance of the night bonus. Bogdan Grad versus Lucas Alexander. Bogdan Grad gets the win by KO 4 minutes 22 seconds into the second round. That was happening in the men's flyweight division. So that was a good one. I mean, there was the knockout was good. But, you know, nothing too crazy there. And then we had Jasmine Jasdavicius versus Mayra Bueno Silva. Bueno Silva was, you know, a contender and was actually lined up to have a title fight. And I don't think she wound up fighting that fight. I'm not sure. But she popped dirty at one point. Maybe she did fight. Did she fight? I gotta check. Because I think she did actually fight. No, she didn't ever fight that fight for the title. So, but this makes her. She lost this fight against Jasmine Jasudavicius, and this marks her third fight in a row that she lost. And then she had a no contest with Holly Holm before that. She hasn't won since February of last year. So her last four fights, just nothing. No contest and 3 losses. So I keep bumping that. It's driving me crazy. So yeah, and then she dropped dirty, and now she's 5-5 in the UFC. It's not looking good for her. She needs to turn it around and get a win. But Jasmine Jasudavicius winds up getting the win here by unanimous decision, and it's gonna catapult her into, you know, a higher ranking and also a possible title fight in the near future, because that makes her 4th fight in a row for the win there. She hasn't lost. Her last loss was to Tracy Cortez by unanimous decision in September of last year. So she's fought 4 times since January of 2024. So I'm sorry, Tracy Cortez was September 23. I keep thinking we're in 2024 still. But she's got four wins in a row, looking for the upper echelon of the division now. And I think she's about 1 fight, if not 2 fights away. And if something else happens, kind of like with Islam Makhachev and Renato Moicano, where Renato Moicano gets to, you know, jump from the number 10 spot to fighting for the title and on a short notice because of an injury and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it could happen, and we might see Jasmine Jasudavicius fighting for a title in the women's flyweight division sometime in the near future. So I wonder what's going on, because I'm getting a bunch of comments and stuff sent to me. Oh, okay. So Patrick, who's been on the podcast before, sent me something about the Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul, because even ESPN is reporting finalizing deal for May 3rd in Las Vegas. And, you know, Canelo fights on Cinco de Mayo all the time. So, I mean, that's just what's happening here. And yeah, Patrick doesn't like the Paul brothers. So he said, what a joke. And then Clark, who's also been on the podcast before, mentioned me in something. So I got to go see what that is, because don't usually get a bunch of yeah, it's about the Alvarez and Paul fight as well. I mean, yeah, so everyone's just oh, okay. Do you know what it is? Oh yeah, Clark's talking about so John Jones had mentioned something. He pulled a Paul brothers move where he mentioned that he had big news for the biggest fight of his life coming up, and it turned out to be that it's like a brand deal. He's partnering up with somebody who's, you know, I don't even know. It didn't even like. It's something to do with health insurance and healthcare, and he's getting, I don't know if it's a sponsorship or he's just working with some I don't know, something that has to do with healthcare and how fucked up it is, and I don't even know. As soon as I heard it, I was like, oh god, because I mean, it could be good and that's great. I don't know the details of it, but the way he led it, he kind of led you to believe that he had a fight coming up and fight news. So it's just misdirection, kind of stupid. So I have to remember to respond to Clark on that one. Anyway, back to these fights. When my phone goes off like that a few times in a row, I'm just like, uh-oh, what's happening? Because maybe something is going down. A lot of shit's happened while we've been live on the show, and I don't keep track of everything live because I'm just, you know, involved in what I'm talking about here. So that's why sometimes if my phone starts going off, I got to double check, make sure I'm not missing something crazy, because you never know what could happen while the show's going live. But back to this. Let's get to Terrence McKinney versus Damir Hadzovic. And Terrence McKinney, a lot of first round finishes, man, and he's fucking exciting to watch. You want to watch a guy, if you want to make sure you watch a fight on any card, if Terrence McKinney's on that card, you make sure you watch that fight, because 99% of the time he's getting a first round finish. And yes, he might get finished himself and he might be the one that loses, It's still gonna be a fun, exciting, crazy fight, and it's gonna be quick. So don't miss Terrence McKinney's fights, and don't blink. 2 minutes and 1 second into the first round, he gets a TKO win over Damir Hadzovic after he hits him with this kick to kind of grazing off his head, knocks him down, gets his back, and ground and pounds him out for the win. In the lightweight division, Terrence McKinney gets that win, and that brings him to that's back, putting him back in the win column, because his last 2 fights he lost. And look at this, he lost in the first round of his last 2 fights by head kick and then by submission, and before that he won 2 fights by TKO in the first round. So he's got a lot of wins and a lot of losses in the first round. It's crazy. So Terrence McKinney's one to watch whenever he's on any card. Shamil Gaziev beat Thomas Peterson in the 3 minutes and 12 seconds into the first round by TKO with a right hook. I forgot to change. There you go. There's that big right hand by Gaziev. So he gets that win in the heavyweight division in the first round. Moves him to 14-1 over Thomas Peterson. And then we get to Mohammed Naimov versus Khan Ofli in the men's featherweight division. Naimov gets the win by unanimous decision there. And then we have Faraz Zayam versus Mike Davis. This was a fun fight, man. As you can tell just by these pictures, and if you're not watching and just listening, because you can listen only on Spotify if you want to. I am on there or anywhere else you get your podcast, just so you know. So if you can, if you want to just listen to the audio only, you can catch that wherever you get your podcasts. In these pictures, you can see all the blood all over Zayam's shorts, all over the canvas. But Zayam is another one of those guys that's exciting. He had that crazy knee to the head knockout over Jesus, I just had his name in my head a second ago. Matt Frivola. So but Zayam gets the win here. That puts him on a 5-fight win streak with this win over Mike Davis. It went all 3 rounds. It was unanimous decision, but it was a bloody fight, and it was an exciting fight to watch. Here's all the blood on the canvas too. You can see both. I mean, at first it was just Mike Davis leaking from the head, and then Zayam got cut open as well. So there was just blood everywhere. Crazy fight here. Went all 3 rounds and was a unanimous decision win for Zayam, but it was a fun fight to watch. That takes us over to Vinicius Oliveira versus Said Nurmagomedov. Lockdog gets the win here by unanimous decision as well, and he gets a performance of the night bonus for this one over Said Nurmagomedov. And actually it was a fight of the night, yeah, which is crazy because you would have thought Zayam versus Davis would have been fight of the night, but this was a fun one as well. The Nurmagomedovs have not had fun times lately, with Umar and Usman all losing, and now Said Nurmagomedov. Now Said's not related to them, but still has that last name. Just hasn't been good luck for them lately. One of the most disappointing fights on the card was this one, and I thought it'd be a banger, but it ends in a unanimous decision win for Sergey Pavlovich over Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And I mean, this fight was so bad. It was like Sergey Pavlovich was just trying to survive and win in the smartest yet easiest way possible, without taking a lot of damage or taking a lot of chances. And he winds up getting the win over Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and Dana White was pissed about this fight. Super pissed. So pissed that Jairzinho Rozenstruik got fucking cut from the UFC. Now, granted, he hasn't been doing well lately. I mean, he's got a 15-6 record overall, 9-6 in UFC. That was his first loss in his past 3 fights. He had 2 wins in a row before this fight, with wins over Taito Ivasa and Shamil Gaziev. But those were yeah, those were just those weren't like crazy exciting fights either. Jairzinho was, man, he was in contention for a long time. He was one of the guys that everyone was like, hey, if this guy puts together a few more wins, he's going to be up there for that title. And he just never made it there. So he is now cut and gone from the UFC as well. And then we get to our co-main event, which also was not the best fight in the world, but it was still pretty good. And the reason being is that Shara Bullet Magomedov is one of those guys that, like I said, is exciting to see fight. He does crazy shit. He won his last fight by double spinning back fist, which is crazy because you just don't see that kind of shit often. And he does have some crazy like dynamic striking. He takes a lot of chances with, you know, jumping and flying strikes and stuff like that. But he just wasn't himself in this fight, and MVP took full advantage. You know, everyone's talking about Shara Bullet just not being able to, you know, fight up there with the upper echelon of fighters, because, you know, when you get an elite striker like MVP, he didn't do so well. And you know, every other guy that he's fought isn't nearly at that level of striking, and MVP's done a lot of crazy shit back in the day with, you know, Bellator when he was over there, a bunch of highlight reel knockouts and stuff like that. He hasn't really shown a lot of that here in the UFC in his few fights that he's been in. This was his third fight in the UFC, but, you know, he says that he's just trying to find that time when it's going to happen and everything's going to come together for him. So it's a little tougher in the UFC with the type of opposition that you get here, with the type of, you know, competitors that you have to face. It's just higher level, more elite fighters in the UFC. It's the most elite organization in the entire sport. So get a different style when you get there, and it's a whole different kind of show. So MVP is looking to find his way and get some of those highlight finishes that he knows he can do. So we'll see if that happens, but he got the unanimous decision win here over Shara Bullet, and hands Shara Bullet his first ever loss. Now he's 15-1. He was 15-0 going into this fight. And MVP just looked good, man. Looked good with all of his stuff. Everything he did. Jump, of course, he had some flying knees in there, a bunch of elbows, and he was just, you know, throwing off Shara Bullet. Shara didn't know what to do with him, because, you know, MVP is just kind of one of those awkward guys, has that weird, really long range because he's a lanky guy. He has that like real wide open karate stance, and he keeps his hands down too, so it's kind of weird because you don't know where he's coming from with it. So yeah, he capitalized on it this time. And here's what I was talking about with things happening in the back and not knowing what's going on. Apparently they had just painted all of the locker rooms, which is weird. Like, why would you do that? So, and obviously they didn't air it out well, because that's what Shara Bullet was saying. He said that he already had some kind of health condition coming in. He said it was a horrendous health condition, and then on top of all that, he said that it affected him because the paint fumes were so strong in their locker room that it affected the way he felt, and which, believe me, I felt pretty bad and felt kind of sick from like paint fumes and other kind of chemical type fumes and stuff like that. You know, if you've ever painted somewhere and it wasn't well ventilated, you start to get a headache, you start feeling delirious and a little bit out of it, and it affects you in a negative way. So for these guys to have to go out there and compete in a 15 or 25 minute fight and have to have really good cardio and have your brain kind of clear and ready to go, and then you're kind of hindered by this, you know, by feeling shitty from paint fumes and shit, that sucks. But, you know, everyone seemed to have dealt with that issue, and, you know, someone won and someone lost. So I guess it's all a matter of how it affected you. Everyone gets affected by those types of things differently. But that was a common story that we heard, but we heard it from all the people that lost. So the people that won said didn't seem to say that it affected them too much. So it's a little bit weird. Definitely was an issue in the venue. So they're gonna have to fix that the next time they go, and make sure that maybe don't freshly paint somewhere without enough time to air it all out, because that affects the fighters. You know, these guys have to rely on every part of their body and every way that it works in order to get through these fights. So I mean, if that's true, that sucks for Char Bullet, but you know what, now he has that O gone, doesn't have to worry about being undefeated anymore, and we'll see how he bounces back, because that's one thing that I always say, and it's how you bounce back, and it's how you recover from that first loss. Those undefeated guys, sometimes they never recover well. They never come back to the way that they were before. So they look like they're world beaters, they're undefeated. Hardly nobody retires undefeated. Khabib did, hardly nobody else does. So to stay undefeated constantly is a lot of pressure. So when you get rid of that you finally get that loss. You know, at least he didn't get knocked out cold to get his first loss. That's probably a good thing. So maybe now, you know, he won't worry about that anymore, and we'll see where he goes with this. According to everything I saw, it was false, but there was a rumor going around about how his health conditions were so bad that he decided to retire. That's not true, because I would have heard it from everywhere by now. So if you saw that going around, I know Clark texted me or sent me that on social media asking me if it was true, and I'm just like, not that I know of. Never heard anything about it anywhere, and it'd be everywhere. Because for him to only take his first loss after being undefeated like he was, and as popular as he was, I don't think that that would go unnoticed. So, and now we get to the saddest part of it all. Oh no, I just pressed the wrong button. Hold on, let me fix that, because I see what I do here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, let me get to the main event. Israel Adesanya versus Nasruddin Imavov. Izzy looked good coming into this fight. I mean, he looked like he was in really good shape. You can see him here in this picture, looking pretty ripped up. You know, sometimes he doesn't come in looking in the best shape ever. You know, he's kind of a skinnier, lankier kind of guy, but he looked a little ripped in this coming into this fight. But it didn't last long. He caught some shots on Nasruddin, and he looked good in the first round, but then we get to the second round, and that's where things went downhill. Izzy does this thing where he leans back to avoid punches, and you know, if the person that's punching him follows through and times it right, he gets caught, and when he gets caught, it's not good. And so this is something that I think everyone is caught onto, a bad habit of Izzy's that he does now that he's been beat, as you know, the way that he has. And Imavov took advantage, caught him with this uppercut and stumbled him, but Izzy recovered a bit and was able to come back. And then in the middle of you know, the second round, he kind of catches an eye poke, and it was weird because it kind of seemed like the whole thing that happened with Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill, where Jamal Hill kicks Pereira in the cup, and you know, the ref comes in and acts like, you know, hey, let's stop this, give him his time, and Pereira kind of said no, I'm good. Well, Jamal Hill says that threw off his timing, and next thing you know, Pereira's knocking him out. So this is kind of what happened with Izzy too. Unfortunately, he didn't take the time that they would have given him, the 5 minutes, or you know, some time before. They would have given him 5 if he needed it. He should have stepped back and taken some time after the accidental eye poke, but apparently he felt like he was okay, so he tells the ref, no, we're good, let's keep going. And seconds later, Imavov catches him with this right hand, fucking drops Izzy. I'm walking through a store, watching my phone, screaming at my phone, Izzy, no, get up, no. I'm probably looking like a psycho. My daughter Trin is with us, and she's screaming at her phone too, because Izzy's one of her favorite fighters. And yeah, unfortunately, Izzy wasn't able to get up, and he fucking lost, man. Gets TKO'd. It's just sad, because it's like, this is his 3rd loss in a row, his 4th loss in his last 5 fights, I think, something like that. And it just sucks, man, because he's lost 4 out of his last 5 fights. That sucks. And it all started with Alex Pereira beating him for the championship. And then he gets his revenge, comes back, gets the rematch, beats Pineda for the belt to get the belt back. But then he loses to Sean Strickland. And, he had a bunch of shit going on before that. He, got like a DWI or something like that. He had all kinds of shit happening in his life. Probably wasn't very focused for that Strickland fight. Might have taken him lightly even. And, he got worked in that Strickland fight. And then he goes to fight Drickus, DDP, who's fighting this weekend against Strickland. He goes to fight him to try to get his belt back and try to settle that beef, and doesn't look good for him there either. Gets choked out, and now he gets knocked out by fucking Nasruddin. So fuck, man, 3 losses in a row, not looking good for Izzy. I was depressed after that. It sucks so bad watching Izzy go down like that. He is one of the guys that I like the most out of the UFC right now. So watching him get knocked out like that sucked. And I know he didn't get knocked out cold, but it was, he, as you can see in the background of that second pick on the right, time for Izzy to retire, future Hall of Famer. Combat Sports Today said, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Everyone's talking about whether it's time for Izzy to go. I think he's still got some good fights in him. They need to just find some good, fun fights for him to fight. And he says he wants to get that submission that he's never had in his career. So maybe give him some fun fights with the possibility of getting that submission, and maybe then he can retire. He's definitely a future Hall of Famer. He did a lot for the sport, and he had a great reign at the middleweight, having the belt and everything. And I think just when it comes to this time, it's just, yeah, it's not good. It's not good when you lose this many times and you get finished this many times. He's not getting knocked out cold, but it's enough. It's enough. And the way he got beat up against Strickland, I think Alex Pineda just took everything from him with that first loss. Even though he came back and he got his revenge and got that great celebration, it just wasn't there anymore. And he moves on to Strickland, loses to DDP. It just sucked, man. So, oh man. But Izzy, classy as always with the respect. That's one thing you'll always see Izzy do. Win or lose, he respects his opponent, and he shows his respects. And that's one of the reasons why I like him so much. So, and Paulo Costa, that was a little bit of a different story. That was a little disrespectful. For the most part, though, you see him doing this, congratulating the fighter, even if he lost. So, hey, thank you. Combat Sports Today said they just subscribed. I appreciate that. But yeah, Izzy, it might be time for Izzy to start, figuring out what he's doing next. His YouTube channel does pretty well. He reacts to fights and stuff like that. That's always entertaining. He's an entertaining guy, and I'm pretty sure he's going to have a lot to do coming up in the future, kind of like Demetrius Johnson did for himself. I don't know if we'll see Izzy streaming and stuff like that, but he's definitely good at entertainment when it comes to his YouTube channel and things. But I would like to see him try to get involved in some good, fun fights, get that one submission for his career, and then maybe call it quits before it gets too bad. So hopefully he can get a win in the near future. Maybe take some time off first, though. Let's get to the end of this, wrap it up, and let's go over UFC 312 coming up this weekend. Saturday night, it's happening in Sydney, Australia, but it's going to be normal prime time for us. 8 o'clock start time for the main card, for at least for me in Arizona. You can go to Google UFC events, and as long as you have your location on, it'll tell you what time the card starts for your area. So go check that out. But yeah, we got Drickus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland, the rematch that is happening this Saturday for the middleweight championship. And then you got Weili Zhang versus Tatiana Suarez fighting for the women's strawweight championship. And Suarez finally getting a title shot, man. It's been a long time coming, and I feel like she needed to get this title shot, and it's good that she did. So I'm happy for her. Weili Zhang's a beast, though. She's got great striking, and this is, this could be a very competitive fight. Or it could end early, I guess. DDP via TKO, says Combat Sports Today. I'm kind of with you on that. I feel like Sean has a chance. I mean, he did well in that first fight. A lot of people thought that there was a possibility he, could have won that one. But, DDP's a beast, and he's just gotten better since the last time they fought. So I feel like DDP is probably going to be the guy who comes away retaining his belt. But I guess we'll see. He's also undefeated, and a lot of undefeated guys lately have been losing those undefeated records. Jabs and teeps from Sean, nothing new. yeah, that is the thing. Sean Strickland fights the same way always. That Philly shell defense is pretty good, but it doesn't fend off everything or everyone. As soon as somebody finds an in, I think that they're gonna take advantage. And DDP has that marauder, like, move forward and bum rush you style, and that Philly shell can't block all that. So I think that's where DDP has the upper hand, because Sean does do a lot of the same shit over and over again, and he may have beat Izzy with it, but Izzy was off his game, and Izzy's just been on that downward swing. Unfortunately, DDP's on the up and up right now, and I feel like he might hold the title for a while until someone else comes in, like maybe Hamzat. But right now he's just fighting a fight that he's already fought, and it's not looking like Sean's done anything different. So unless he catches DDP, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get that as the outcome. But let's go over these prelims real quick. DDP is like the Kansas City Chiefs, they somehow keep winning. Yeah, hey, he got that nose issue fixed and figured out, so his cardio came back, and holy shit, he's been doing something with it lately. So that is definitely a thing. And now he's got the title, and I don't think he wants to give that shit up, so it's gonna be tough to beat him. And with Sean continuing to do the shit that he does, I don't know that he's gonna get that win. So let's look at these prelims real quick. We got Hun Sung Park versus, I'm not even gonna try to say that dude's name, Tumen Dembriel, to start off the prelims in the men's flyweight division. Park is 9-0. The other guy's 8-1. I can't say his name, man. That is a fucking long, that is like every letter in the alphabet, and it's a very difficult, look at that name at the bottom. Anyway, Quillen Salkilled versus Ansul Jubli in the men's lightweight division. 7-1 for both those guys there. These names are hard to say besides Cody Steele. Yeah, no shit. Half of these names, oh my god. If I didn't hear them said like multiple times, I would never know how to say them. But that guy's name, I don't know that I'll ever be able to say his name correctly. I heard the actual recording of him saying his name. Still don't know how to say it. I fucked up on my stream as well. Hey, you got a stream too, I see. Well, with a name like Combat Sports Today, that makes sense. So I'll have to check it out, man. I'll go subscribe as well and check out your show. Let's see, what do we got? Salkilled versus Jubli, 7-1 for both those guys in the lightweight division. We got Jonathan Mikalev versus Kevin Gisette in the welterweight division. 10-3 for Gisette and Mikalev. Man, Gisette is the guy that Brian Battle beat in France. That was his last fight, so he's coming off that loss. That was a hell of a loss to Brian Battle there. So he's looking to get back in that win column. And I think Mikalev this is his UFC debut, coming off the Contender Series that he got a win on. So he's making his debut in the UFC. I think there's a bunch of guys making their debuts on this card. Moving on to that easy name, Cody Steele versus Rongzu. A difficult name, but I've heard that one said enough. Cody Steele's 7-0, got that undefeated record there. That hasn't fared well for a lot of people. Like I said before, lately a lot of guys have been taking that getting that O taken from them, like Shara Bullet, Umar Nurmagomedov, And someone else got their O taken recently, so that makes me nervous for Tatiana Suarez because she's undefeated. So yeah, and I mean, I think DDP's undefeated too, so a lot of big undefeated records here. We'll see how those pan out. But Rongzu versus Cody Steele in the lightweight division, and then we get to the other part of the prelims. We got this is an interesting fight. Colby Thickness, which is a hilarious name, by the way, versus Alexandre Topuria. So Thickness is a training partner of Alexander Volkanovski. Thickness, exactly. I heard thicknessy. I think it's thickness though, but this shit's funny. But yeah, he's a longtime sparring partner and training partner of Volkanovski, kind of like a protege of his. Apparently, he's undefeated at 7-0. Then you got Alexandre Topuria, who is Ilia Topuria's brother, and apparently he's his older brother, which is kind of crazy. But he's 5-1 overall. Both these guys are making their UFC debuts on this card. Combat Sports Today says he's the underdog and Topuria's brother has been fighting cans. yeah, I mean, who knows, man. This is a tough one, but we'll see what happens here. It's kind of interesting when you get two guys like this that have people in their corners. Like, that's gonna be weird watching Volkanovski and Topuria in the corners of the guys fighting. They're still trying to set up that fight. I think that's good. That might be the next one we see coming up. For Topuria is maybe another fight with Volkanovski. Everybody seems to want it, but who knows. Moving on to Kong Wang versus Bruna Brazil. Kong Wang is the crazy ass chick that comes out wearing the Joker makeup and shit. Didn't fare well for her in her last fight. That's where she got her O taken. She's 6-1, and her last fight was a loss to Gabriela Fernandez, who was a crazy underdog and wound up getting the rear naked choke on her. And then she's fighting Bruna Brazil, who's 10-4. That's happening in the women's strawweight division. Moving on to the next one, Tom Nolan versus Vyacheslav Borshev. So this is Slava Claus is his nickname. I don't even know, man, where they come up with this shit. But Tom Nolan's 8-1. Borshev is 8-4. That's happening in the men's lightweight division. And then our last fight in the prelims, Jack Jenkins versus Gabriel Santos. Jenkins 13-3, Santos 11-2, happening in the men's featherweight division for that one. Let's get through this main card and wrap this shit up here. Jake Matthews versus Francisco Prado, starting off the main card in the lightweight division. This should be a fun fight, I think. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not the lightweight division. Ah, shit, I messed that up. It's the welterweight division. That's because Prado was fighting in the lightweight division before. I see what I did there. That was dumb. Whatever. 20-7 for Matthews. Prado's 12-2 overall. 13-7 for Matthews in the UFC. And Prado is 1-2. Not a great record there, but look at that KO TKO 6-0, submissions 6-0, decisions 0-2. So Prado does not want to go all 3 rounds on this one because he does not do well in decision fights. Prado getting some tough matchups at 22. Yeah, no shit. Coming off a loss for Prado. Matthews 6-1 in KO TKO, 9-3 by sub, 7-3 by decision. So just a mix of stuff there. He's got the most in submissions, coming off a win. Let's see, he's coming off a win over, I don't remember who was last, Phil Rowe. That was a unanimous decision win. Before that, he had a loss to Michael Morales by unanimous decision as well. And Prado is coming off that loss to Daniel Zellhuber. Like Combat Sports Today said, Prado's getting a lot of big matchups. Not an easy fighter to beat. Daniel Zellhuber, Ottoman Azitar before that, and Jamie Malarkey before that. Holy shit. Couple of fight of the nights there though. So Prado looking to get back in that win column. Moving on to Jimmy Crute. Speaking of tough, Jimmy Crute, man, holy shit. Versus Rodolfo Bellato. Jimmy Crute has not had a good time lately. I'm pretty sure he's on like, yeah, he's on like a 3-fight losing streak. He had a majority draw in the middle of that for his 4th fight there, but basically he's on a 3-fight losing streak because nobody wins in those draws. So Jimmy Crute is really needs a win. Jenkins versus Santos should replace his bout on the main card. I see how that could be a valid point, because Jimmy Crute, man, like what's even the point of it right now? He just does not look good at all. Yeah, fucking lost my parlay on him last time. I don't even know what I was doing betting on him. Anyway, I was thinking it was time for him to get out of that loss column, and it didn't work. But yeah, he's coming off his last loss was to Alonzo Menafield, where he lost by guillotine. Before that, he had a doctor stoppage and versus Anthony Smith, and then lost to Jamal Hill as well. So it's not like he's losing to cans, but still can't get a win. The parlay killer. Exactly. But Bellato is 1-0 in the UFC. Fuck. So it's only his 2nd fight in the UFC, but he does have, I mean, he had a win over Ihor Pretoria by ground and pound. So that's a good one. That was a fight of the night for him. Bonus in his only fight in the UFC. So that's good. Before that, I mean, he was on a 3-fight win streak before that fight. So he's got some wins under his belt. Looking to keep that going here. He's 7-2 in KO TKOs, 4-0 by sub, and 1-0 by decision. And then Crute 5-2 by KO TKO, 4-2 by sub, 3-0 by decision. So if it goes to decision, both these guys have not lost by decision, so that could be interesting. And that might be the way this one goes, because unless Bellato comes out, you know, aggressive with some fucking knees like this one in this picture, unless Jimmy Crute is ready to turn it all around and really get involved and start doing something, maybe he'll make this exciting and get back in that win column. Moving on to the big boys in the heavyweight division, like the light heavyweights, not that far off, so I shouldn't say the big boys like we were just talking about flyweights or something. but these are big boys. Justin Tafa versus Tellison Teixeira, who's making his debut on this card. Like I said, a bunch of guys making their debuts here, but Justin Tafa is a beast. Touch and go though, man. When he meets his match, he really meets his match, and he's coming off a loss to Carl Williams. That was by unanimous decision, but I mean, he's lost. You know, he's got wins over Austin Lane, Parker Porter, and Harry Hansucker, but when he loses, it seems to be by decision, and it's not pretty. So, yeah, it's 4-4 in the UFC, 7-4 overall. 7-1 by KO TKO, no wins or losses in the submission category, and loses all of his fights if it goes to decision. So so that's a downside to Justin Tafa, but when he knocks fools out, it's fun, and it's always a nice win for him. The height difference is crazy, no fucking doubt, because this guy Teixeira is definitely way taller than Tafa. Let's see, how tall is he? Does it say? Oh, 6'7". Oh, there you go. He just said it. Combat Sports Today is on top of it. Makes sense. But yeah, 6'7". Holy shit. I heard about him in LFA. So yeah, I'm excited to see him. He got that win by getting on the Contender Series. And he got a KO win there. So he beat an undefeated guy in Contender Series too. So, and then yeah, a bunch of wins in LFA. This dude is undefeated as well, 7-0. So once again, undefeated fighters. It's a little scary for them right now. So let's see if how he does against the vet, Justin Tafa, heavy hitter, and heavyweight division is desperate for new heavyweights. Yeah, so I mean, it'd be good for this guy to come in and make some waves, but we're not getting like these superstars, crazy well-known names jumping in. If you're hardcore, you know about him, like Combat Sports Today does, knows that he was good in LFA. But you know, otherwise you don't hear a lot about heavyweights right now, so it's kind of downtime for them, and it sucks. So we definitely need some heavyweights coming into that division and making some names. Dontel Mays is ranked. Yeah. We need help. No shit. That is the truest shit that could have been said right there. Oh man. Yeah, the heavyweight needs some help for sure. But fucking John Jones is a champ. He's the GOAT. So what more do we want, right? Fight Tom Aspinall and let's get it fucking over with. All right, moving on to the co-main event. The first title fight of the night, I should say. Curtis Blades is fighting a Dana White Contender Series guy. Yeah, that's the proof right there. I don't even know what to say, man. The heavyweight division is just fucking trash, and it needs a lot of help, and it's disappointing. Unless John Jones is fighting or Tom Aspinall is fighting, is the only way we get anything exciting. And I mean, look at Rosenstruck and Pavlovich. Like, that was fucking horrible. And then Rosenstruck gets fucking cut, so it tells you a lot. Co-main event, strawweight title fight here. Weili Zhang versus Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana, like I said before, finally getting that title shot. Bring back juiced heavyweights. Some of these, yeah, the heavyweights out of everybody probably, I mean, they have the most power, but maybe if they get some cardio behind them with some nutritional health, that would be fun. Don't think it's gonna happen, but you never know. But we got Weili Zhang here fighting Tatiana Suarez. Suarez is 10-0, so again, scary there. 7-0 in the UFC, 2-0 by KO TKO, 5-0 by subs, which is the way to go for her. 3-0 by decision. She's on that 7-fight win streak because she's undefeated in the UFC. 10-0 technically, but you know, I only count the UFC ones. Weili Zhang on a 4-fight win streak, 25-3 overall, 9-2 in the UFC, 11-1 by KO TKO. That only loss being to Thug Rose when she got that head kick knockout, which is insane. 8-0 by submission, so she's got a ground game for sure. 6-2 by decision. And yeah, this is, I feel like this could be a fun one, but it could also be boring because, you know, Tatiana being a grappler and wrestler like she is, sometimes that gets a little boring, but she seems to make it exciting and fun, because if she gets somebody in the ground, she's looking to pound the shit out of them and you know, get those punches on the ground working. She's relentless. She's a beast. She's huge for her division as well. Yeah, Weili Zhang is a badass too. She's got a lot of skills, and she definitely has. She's a champ for a reason, and that's the kicks and the punches. She knows what she's doing, and she works all of it well. She's smart the way she fights. Thug Rose is like the only girl that's really had who's really had her number, is what I was trying to say. Philip Kadek, Zhang for the win, huh? Fuck, man, that I don't know. I'm really torn on this one, but I am rooting for Tatiana Suarez. But I can easily see Weili dominating her with striking. But with Tatiana being as big as she is, it's tough, man. It's tough. But Zhang is proven. So I can see where you guys are coming from with this. I mean, Yan Xiaonan did give her a good fight for the most part. Amanda Lemos did not, because she got her ass whooped, like you see here with this kick and this big ass punch. I mean, Weili Zhang was working Lemos, so Zhang is the underdog. Yeah, that's because Tatiana Suarez is undefeated. She's a beast. The grappling and wrestling, like that's what the That's what the books are looking at, I think. With that undefeated record, especially, Tatiana just hasn't been active enough. Yeah, no, I get that too. That's the downfall of Tatiana. If she wins the title, what's gonna happen? Is she gonna stay healthy enough to defend? You know, that's gonna be the tough part. Is it gonna be another Dominic Cruz situation? Which, you know, big ups to Cruz for retiring. By the way, Dominic Cruz retired. He had one last fight. It was gonna be his retirement fight against Rob Font, and he just pulled out today with a shoulder injury, and yeah, he decided that it was done. He's not even gonna bother trying for that last fight, so he retired. So thanks to Dominic Cruz for all the memories and all the good fights, man. Definitely shout out to Cruz. Philip Kadek said, and yeah, I feel the same. He was a GOAT in his division for a while. He's definitely a legend, and he'll always be remembered for that crazy footwork and his time being the champ. So, and he's from my hometown. That's where I'm from right now, Tucson, Arizona. So he came from here, and yeah, big shout out to Cruz for the retirement. Sucks that he had to go out that way though. But back to Zhang and Tatiana. So Weili Zhang with, you know, oh man, how can we forget that Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight where she made Jędrzejczyk look like a goddamn alien with how much her head swelled up. Fucking insane. And that was due to all the strikes that Weili was landing on her, but Tatiana gave him back as well. But you know, you can't help but to notice how much Zhang has continued on. Greatest women's MMA fight of all time, no fucking doubt. No doubt. And the proof is in that picture at the end where they're standing there waiting to be announced who the winner was, and Joanna's just, her head's about to explode. It's insane. So yeah, and then Zhang getting that win by choke here over Carla Esparza. Carla didn't put up much of a fight though, I mean, to be honest, in that one. But I mean, Yan Xiaonan was a beast in her last fight against Zhang. With the way that she was able to, she basically got choked out after that second round. I think it was the second round. I mean, she was out. She got saved by the bell if there ever was a time to be saved by the bell. But it was a crazy fight, and Yan gave her a good competition, but still lost by unanimous decision there. That was Weili Zhang's last fight. And then we move over to Tatiana. She does throw a lot of kicks, but I mean, her striking isn't like high level. I don't think. She is a bigger girl. She is very fucking strong. You know, that wrestler strength, you can't beat it. But you know, it doesn't really translate into her striking as much. So Weili Zhang's definitely the striker of the two. So he had that big win over Jessica Andrade by guillotine. Before that, another guillotine choke over Montana De La Rosa, both in the second round for those. She beat Nina Nunez by unanimous decision, Carla Esparza by ground and pound. So I mean, training and dating Patchy Mix will definitely help. Yeah. Yeah, let's see if they get Patchy Mix over to the UFC. He's looking to get out of whatever contract he's in right now. So we'll see if we get him over there and see how that, if they become a power couple, because I think he would do well in the UFC. But yeah, Tatiana with the ground game here. It's definitely her strength, those takedowns, the submissions, and if she's not submitting, she's ground and pounding the shit out of somebody and getting those wins. Hoping to keep that undefeated record here. She is the favorite, like everyone was saying in the chat. Here's my picks. Oh shit, did I press the wrong button?
Perfect.
Oh shit, I missed the main event. I'm sorry. That was not the main event. I'm like, that's what I get for going the main event here. We'll just keep going. Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. I'm pressing too many buttons, getting excited here. Dricus undefeated as well in the UFC, that is, not overall. So he might have that going for him. He doesn't have a full overall record of being undefeated. I thought that sounded kind of weird when I said that earlier, but he's undefeated in the UFC. So still an undefeated record of some sort, but everyone that seems to be something in O completely overall seem to be the ones not being able to keep that record lately. I know I keep talking about that, but that sticks in my head. So It's just something I think about. But 9-1 by KO TKO, 11-1 by sub, and 2-0 by decision. He's on an 8-fight win streak in the UFC because he's 8-0. Sean Strickland, 29-6 overall, 16-6 in the UFC, 11-2 by KO TKO, 4-0 by sub, 14-4 by decision. Nothing big there. I mean, we kind of know what we're getting here because we've seen this one before, right? But what's gonna change? I mean, is DDP gonna be DDP via TKO is plus 400? God damn, I didn't see that, but I have not placed my bets yet. So I think I'm gonna do that either tonight or tomorrow morning. So I might have to take a look at that. What sportsbook was that on? Because damn, I could see that happening, I guess. I mean, look at this big punch on the bottom here in their last fight with Trickus and Strickland. And then on the top is Trickus and Robert Whittaker. Might be DraftKings. Okay, that's usually where I bet is DraftKings, so might have to take a look at that one. But that fight against Robert Whittaker was the one, man. I was in Vegas. Wasn't at the fight, but I was watching it at the Circa pool and on that big screen. And man, I was rooting for Whittaker because I like him, and Trickus is just one of those guys. And man, I was just like in disbelief how he dismantled him. So, and then he kept it going, and you know, that fight against Strickland, and you know, of course, the fight against Izzy, which makes me sad again. Oh, it's plus 350 now. Shit, I better bet tonight then, because it's going down. So, but yeah, and big strikes against Izzy, chokes him out in the end to win there. That's disappointing, just because I wanted to see Izzy win that one. It's just because I'm an Izzy fan. But we got Sean with the Chomo stash going on these days, and the crazy fucking stuff that he says at the press conference. But you know, he's got that defense, that Philly shell defense we talked about earlier, and his jabs and stuff. But nothing that's too crazy overpowering. I mean, he did drop Izzy, but we haven't seen too much out of him. It's just more about his durability and his defense. I mean, he still was the champ at one point, obviously, and he's looking to come back and get that belt back. But we'll see what he has for Drickus this time. Drickus du Plessis to win, KO, TKO, DQ, or submission. Plus 215. Okay. Well, here's my actual picks, like I was talking about, and I did get this from DraftKings earlier today. So money lines is all I'm posting here, and I put the main card parlay because I usually will make my picks and actually put this into parlay. I don't bet a ton, so you know, I'll put in this parlay just to see how it goes. So I put the money next to the main card parlay. If there's no money there, it means I'm just making picks for the fight for the night. But if I put the money there, it means I'm making this as a bet. So Drickus du Plessis minus 205, Tatiana Suarez minus 120. Justin Tafa is the only underdog I'm taking here, and I know that's a chance I'm taking there, but I'm gonna go with the vet. Plus 120. Rodolfo Bellato, there's no way I can bet on Jimmy Crute with the way that he's been fighting lately, so I'm going with Bellato for minus 162, and then Jake Matthews at minus 245. I'll make a small bet on this one, but I always make other bets too. $20 to bet and you're good. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I actually break up the $20. I'll do like $4 or $5 bets. I don't even care. I'll do one crazy outlandish one that might win me $1,000 or something, but everything else I'm just like, you know, I don't bet crazy. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. So I'll throw a little bit of money here and there just to have a stake in the game, you know. Where's thickness? I usually only go with the main card for my picks here. But I will make like a full card pick of some sort. I'll make a parlay and I'll hand pick a few fighters out of the prelims and a few out of the main card. So I do a bunch of different ones. If I win good on them, I'll post them. I mean, I'll bring them up on the next show. So, but yeah, thickness and DDP via TKO is my play. Sounds good. I'll have to check that one out. So that's it for me though. Time to wrap it up. I've been going for almost 2 hours. But it was fun. I had a lot to say. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Combat Sports Today said he subscribed, so I appreciate that for sure. We had Philip Kadek in there for a minute. My boy Infinity was in there too, my wife and my mom. Thanks for the support. I always got to shout out everybody in the chat. Appreciate the interaction and the conversation. And yeah, that's it for me. Come back next Thursday. Awesome stream. Followed on all socials. Oh shit, thanks Combat Sports Today with the support. I appreciate that. I'll go check out your stuff as well. Thanks for joining in. Come back next Thursday, every Thursday, 7 p.m. Arizona time. I'm on Spotify as well, so you can check out the audio only if you want to. I'm on all the other podcasts, you know, everywhere you get your podcast, basically. So you can follow all my social media down there as well, just like Combat Sports said he did as well. And yeah, that's it for me. I'm not going to do a watch party this week because I just want to take a week off, basically. For this month, I mean, for the pay-per-view. I'll be back next month with a watch party, so be ready for that. And yeah, enjoy the fights this weekend. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Peace.